excited as we've got a great guest who helps small business owners get their message across through the power of media just like this. So, Lorianne, this was someone that you helped make the introduction to. You excited about this?
I am. I've been on his podcast. I've had him on my podcast, and I just had to bring him on this show.
Yeah, no, I know we had a little pre-call some time back, and I was really excited to see more about what he's doing. So we're going to be right back here in a few seconds with Jonathan Rivera. And if you are a small business owner looking to take your business into the next step and get your message out there, you're going to want to tune in. Be back in 30 seconds.
Yay, another
Yeah. Well, welcome back. Listen, we just wanted to make sure that you understand why we're here. And our intention is to help you learn anything, grow, be inspired. And so just a little clarity. Lorianne, why don't you tell our listeners today and viewers, what is it that you do to help their businesses move into the next step?
I help people, small businesses, coaches, and consultants leverage speaking opportunities as their best form of marketing. Because when you are speaking either in person or even virtually, that you get positioned as the expert, you get to attract and draw in the right clients, and you get to monetize your authority. That's exactly what I do. And Rigo, would you share with the audience what you do?
Yeah, absolutely. So very similar. One of the things that we've come to realize is that in any level of your business, there's always a way that somebody can help you. So we help our clients by helping them leverage their personal brands, teach them how to build those personal brands through an aspect of organic lead, that organic inbound lead generation. So what we do is we help you get your message out there, drive attention, and in combination of things like what we're about to learn with Jonathan, these are the things that are going to absolutely explode your business. So learn how to market and strategize, learn how to speak and get your message out there. And how do you get your message out there? Well, let's bring Jonathan in and have him share with us what we can learn in terms of podcasts and whatnot. Jonathan, welcome to the Contagious Leadership Podcast. Yeah, our studio audience is bananas, man. Especially Rivera's. They love the Rivera's.
They're nuts. I'm stoked to be here. Man, I hope I can live up to the intro and the music, because right now I'm feeling incredibly inadequate.
Hey, listen, that's not fair. The music was custom built by my brother, who's a professional. So just to make sure you understand, that was it's a little bit of an edge. And in fact, his first version, which I loved even more, he decided to keep, and they turned it into a top single. I was like,
nice.
Dang it, that was mine. And he's like, but I made another one for you. It was one we didn't keep. And I was like, oh, so I got your scraps. All right, I appreciate that. But you know
Thanks,
what? Hey, that music's badass. It gets everybody pumped. And we're excited you're here. So Jonathan, okay, as a fellow podcaster, it is something I absolutely love when I can sit with someone else who not only is inspired to do this work, but also understands the importance of why we do this. You know, even if it's not about making money. That's one of the things, I don't know if you run into this the same way, right? Oh, how much money you make doing that? And I go, it's not the same thing. I'm not getting paid to get on the mic, but I get paid because I get on the mic.
Because of
right?
the mic.
Because I'm on the mic. So why don't you bring us up to speed a little bit? Who is Jonathan Rivera? Talk about your company. How did you get here? And why were you not afraid to step forward in an area that so many are afraid to get into?
Well, I mean, the fact is simple. I've been podcasting since 2008, so there was a lot fewer people doing the podcast thing. I'm a man of God. I am a father. I'm a husband. And I am here to bring the light to the world. And that's really why I'm not afraid, as you say, to get out here, is because I have a mission. And my mission is quite simple. I think we've all had this experience. We can all relate. The right words from the right person at the right time can change a life. And we've had that whether we were reading a book or whether we were watching a talk or whether we were listening to a podcast where we may have heard something a million times, but that one time it hit us, it changed our trajectory, and we're living our purpose. And so I get to do that every single day.
That's awesome. I absolutely feel you. It was one of the things, like meeting Lorianne, that was a huge confirmation for myself, because we had gone through so many different variations, and it was trying to get the message out there, trying to figure out what is the reason for it. And it initially it was to help the creative aspects of where I was at the time, but I knew that there was more to what we were doing. And I'm actually excited for this new year because our entire focus is going to be in that small business. We're looking at those smaller groups, and it's like, you know what? This is the year for them. 2023 is the year for them. And I'm excited about the guests we're going to bring on and the programs that we're going to be putting out there for them. So when I hear you talk about the purpose and that drive, that's exactly it. And when Lorianne came and got on the show, number one, the show got better. Number two, to have someone else with that same love and passion for that entrepreneur, right? For that person who's searching. And so many folks search and they can't always find what they need and what they're looking for. And so that's the same thing. I mean, that's why we do this. We want people to find answers. And it's like, hey, this is how I do it. I'm inspired by so many other men and women out there who are doing the same thing. They're giving to me, and I'm like, hey, let's give to others. So I love that about you. I love that drive about you, Jonathan. And that's what I remembered. I told you there was something I couldn't remember that I really liked about you, and that was it. It was that drive. It was that purpose. So 2008. So you had the first round of our. It was considered a recession in this country, right? And so that bubble popped there. What drove you into podcasting in 2008?
My illiteracy. No, I'm just
No, hey.
So
sure.
You're right. I got caught. I was in real estate, and I got caught in that, and we lost everything. In fact, at that time, and it didn't feel good. I didn't want to do that again, and I was looking for a way to diversify my income. So I was rebuilding the real estate business and looking for another way to bring in revenue, so that I didn't have that happen again. And I stumbled upon business online, and started looking at ways to make money online and to build a business online. And the business I have today is not the business I started back then with info products and different things like that. But I've been through iterations. But it was really about diversifying my income, taking care of my family, and making sure that I did not end up in a situation where one change could take away everything. And so it was really a diversification plan. When I got online, they talked about thought leadership. And in order to be a thought leader at that time, you had to have a blog. And this is why I say my illiteracy, because I couldn't write. I barely read. And I'm just like, I can't do this. Lo and behold, I had this Mac. The Mac had GarageBand on it, and I figured out how to connect the dots from GarageBand to podcast, and I could get out there and get my message out there without having to type it. And so that's how I started. And over the years, I developed a reputation for being able to do the technical thing behind the podcast, and more people started coming to me looking for help with that. And fast forward to 2015, we start the Podcast Factory as an agency. Fast forward to today, we have changed over 6 million lives, people listening to our shows, people getting good, positive messages of light, and people changing their lives because of the inspiration that we provide over at the Podcast Factory.
I love that. I love that. And that's why I wanted to have you on the show, because, even just sharing about the different iterations, I know that that's something that we talked about on my podcast, but you've just had different iterations of your business, not just because there was a recession, but because you listen really well to the market, to your clients about what they're looking for. I'd love for us to dive into that conversation at some point.
You know what? You make a good point, Lorianne. We had a guest we were just speaking to here the other day, and she had made quite a few comments about how none of where she is today was that original, intention. And I think it's interesting because you made a comment, Lorianne, that Jonathan, you've obviously listened to the market, right? You got in, you looked at an opportunity to share something. And I think it's really neat. I'm sure you're familiar with Gary Vee and VaynerMedia. And I love one of the things and the drives with Gary that I really do and have always appreciated for the years that I've been watching this guy. And do you know Gary Vee? Like, you got to watch him. You got to just check the guy out. Like, I always loved his approach. I love his energy. I love that he's always focused in the same message and he keeps focused on it. He just says it over and over and over and over. And it's great because you keep hearing it and you learn it. But the biggest thing I love about him was that he would always drive this aspect, like, don't do this, whatever it is you're doing to build that personal brand, whatever it is you're doing to get that message out there to, don't think about the money or how you're going to create. Think about how you solve a problem. Like, do things authentically and it will start to develop. And it sounds like that was your approach, right? You started to just get into it, to build and learn the muscle memory. Is that about right? Like, just to kind of get the practice in, and then people started to come to you, right? So tell me about that first time that somebody asked you if you could help them do what you were doing. Do you remember that? Because I remember that.
Do I?
I didn't like that. I didn't like that. There was a lot of lessons learned that first time.
Yeah. Well, it was, and this is a tip for anybody who's starting out. I went out and found people that I could help at first. And so what I did originally was, like I said, I was rebuilding the real estate business and I was learning marketing online and email marketing, landing pages, sales funnels, all this wonderful stuff. And I had a friend who looked at me and called me a moron. Thank you, sir. I appreciate that, because he saw me trying to build like these online products and all this other nonsense. And he said, dude, why don't you just use that on your real estate business? And I'm like, oh, man, duh. Why don't I use email marketing and video sales letters and landing pages on my real estate business? So I took what he told me, just that little shift in perspective. And I went and I wrote an ad on Google. I built a landing page and a video sales letter. And dude, I have not been able to beat my control. And for anybody that doesn't really know online marketing or anything, control is the first piece, the piece that's working. And then you put other pieces against it to battle against it to see if it'll take out that champion piece of copy or that champion ad. And I haven't been able to beat my control since 2012. And I was using all of that. And I said, damn, dude, that was some killer information. You knocked me on my butt. Let's go share this with other people. And so that's what we started doing, was like, dude, I owe you like millions of dollars in rents have come in off of that one ad, that one video sales letter, and that one person kicking me in the butt. And I put him on the air with me and we started doing things. And that wasn't him coming to me for it. That was me saying, dude, you helped me out a lot. How can we help more people with this? So that's actually where it started.
I love awesome. That honest feedback. You're an idiot.
Thank you.
No, I mean, I totally relate with all of it. We found ourselves, we were doing this for ourselves, and I had these young people that I really wanted to pour into. A couple of them being my children and some of their friends, and it was like, how do I teach them the spirit of entrepreneurship? Because I'm seeing so many young people looking at school in different directions, and I have a degree myself, so I'm not a hater of education. I just feel that today, like, we should not be taking job advice from our parents. I am barely in the cutoff of understanding anything that I should give any advice to a generation coming up on how they should build their career. Because in my 43 years on this planet, I have seen transitions and growth happen in technology at such a rate that in another 10 or 15 years, there is no way that the advice I'm giving them right now to go down a path is going to take them to the right place. This is how I feel. This is my personal opinion. I feel that they should be staying in the know as much as possible, right? Look at an open AI. Look at the chat GPT. Look at the attack that educational systems are going after to shut this thing down when I'm going, you're looking at this wrong. You're looking at it as a cheat. And we talked to another guest who's military, and he goes, this is not considered cheating in war. This is considered intelligence. This is considered, how did he put it, Lorianne?
It's just a different perspective. That's what he called it. He called it intelligence.
But there's a military term for it. Like when you have that advanced edge over your opponent, over the other side, it's not a cheat. That's what you want. You want that intelligence. And I think about it, in 3 or 4 or 5 years, the amount of hours I have spent using things and tools like that, and now how we can maybe bring some of that knowledge to our listeners and audience and customers and try to show them what we've learned. It's helped me already grow massively. And I'm looking at it going, man, like, look what we're being able to do. Look what we can give our audience. So as you're teaching these people, like you're teaching the market, you're showing them how to share their message. What was some of the things you found that they were challenged with that right now, if there's a business owner who's in this place and feeling like I'm stuck, right? I don't do the social media aspect. That's not who I am. I'm not a public person. Maybe they have a Facebook page, maybe for like grandkids, right? Or uncles and cousins, but maybe they don't. I know a lot of really smart, successful business owners that I don't do the social media thing. And I'm like, social media is not a thing. It was a thing in 2006 and 7 and 8. It's now something very important if you have a business. So, I mean, help me out, help them out. They're listening right now, they're watching this, and they know something needs to change. How do you help them get past that threshold?
Well, I think there's a couple things that I want to talk about there. Number one, I'm with you. I'm not qualified to give job advice. I'm unemployable, have been for the last 15, 20 years. I don't even know how long. But you hit it. There is one piece of advice that we can give everyone that's timeless, and it doesn't matter if you're looking at video AI or chat GTP or any of that stuff, is find a problem and solve it. Find a problem, solve it.
Yes.
People won't always pay. And so that's why we're here, right? That's why Lorianne's here. That's why you're here. That's why I'm here. Yep. We found problems, we solved them. That advice will never go out of style. That advice will always be good. And that's the advice I give my child. Now, my father-in-law tells me I should pick a profession for my son who is 8 years old. Pick a profession, start grooming him. I'm like, pal, give me a break.
Let's make him a computer programmer. Like, no, that'll be gone, right? Like,
yeah, I mean, what do we know, right? But solving problems doesn't go out of style. That's the main thing.
I love that. Yes. Right. And unemployable. How many times I've said, oh God,
Jonathan. And I can say this because my dad does not watch this show. He's not on LinkedIn or Facebook or anything. But if I took advice from my dad, career advice, I would still be working at the very first hospital that I got a job at after college. I would still be there because my job hopping in the beginning of my career, he did not understand. I would take pay cuts to learn something new because I just intuitively knew that it was going to serve me in the long run. And it did. And then it eventually, got me into coaching, which brought me into the entrepreneurial world, which again, he was like, are you working today? It's like, Dad, yes, I'm working every day.
I work all the time. It's just different. Think about this, Jonathan. Did first question number one, 15 years ago, did we think that YouTube would develop multimillionaires? Question number 2, did we ever think that YouTube would create billionaires? Right? You look at Mr. Beast, who's already now worth billions of dollars and has already been approached, and his company, it won't sell for any less than like 50 billion. Billion with a B. Like, this is not the world that we lived in ourselves. I got out of high school in 97, okay? I graduated college years later, started in 2006 or 7, 4.5 years later, got out. Halfway through, I was like, I should probably buy a computer. I didn't own one. And I had a computer science minor, right? Electrical engineering major and a computer science minor. I was like, I should probably build something. Like, I got a degree in this. I should go do it. And I got a computer finally. Like, you just didn't need it, right? Yeah. My first smartphone I got in 2009 when I convinced the company I was working with to give me a smartphone so I didn't have to keep driving all the way back to the shop. I'm in the renewable energy business, and I'd have to drive 40 minutes out. And then we'd get a call on the radio from my admin that there was an email I needed to address, so I'd have to drive all the way back. I'm like, this is dumb. Give me a phone with email on it, right? And it was a BlackBerry or a Droid or something. And I just remember looking, and we got an iPhone within that first 6 months. And I remember going, okay, I see what's happening. And I want to hold on and grab a hold of this as best I can because things are about change. And I remember when that clicked. It was like 2008, 2009. It was that time frame. I didn't get into anything yet, but I remember things clicking for me. And I knew that things were about to change. And I remember at that time looking at my children thinking, how do I help prepare them for what's going to come? You know, so I love that problem solving. So when you work right now with your clients, Jonathan, how do you help them find their way of solving the problem? Because, like, tell us about your company and how that your message in that company helps solve these problems for your clients.
I think it comes down to conversations, because conversations equal opportunities. And I think that's why, didn't you open the show with saying you get paid because you're on the mic? What was that?
That was off. Yeah, that was offline. And I said, what's interesting is that people would always ask, oh man, how much money you make? I was like, I don't make money from the show, right? I don't get paid to do the show, but I get paid because of the show, because we create top of mind, because we're creating a personal brand. If I'm working with somebody, and I was talking to our business manager, Anita, today, and she was working on some posts and she was reading some content for me, and it had to do with outbound marketing. And it wasn't necessarily positive towards. I said, whoa. I said, look, we don't talk about outbound marketing, but let's go through this. Why do I not talk about outbound marketing? I'm not opposed to paid ads. I'm not at all. I think outbound marketing is a very good method to support a strategic plan. But why do I not talk about outbound marketing? She goes, well, because you never used it. I go, that's right. I will not teach or train on what I don't know. I built my business 100% on non-paid, organic, inbound lead generation. That is a long-term investment. You have to understand that it's about building relationship, building trust, and building authenticity. It's a different strategy, but I did it. And we did it, and I know how to do it, and I will not teach somebody what I don't know. And so that's why we don't talk about it. And it clicked for her, and it was really exciting to see that. It's not that I don't think it doesn't work. So you're a professional podcaster. I mean, we're talking 15, 16 years, dude. Hours. Like, if you think about this, right? Look at an expert in any industry. How many hours does it take to make somebody a master electrician, an expert in their field? Do the math. You have thousands of hours in this area. Like, you are a master. You're an expert in this area. Whether you have cool music or not, you're an expert, right? So when somebody's gonna sit with you, they're getting 16 years of do's and don'ts. in just a few minutes. That is where the value is, right? So this is how you help. This is what we do, right? This is why coaching is so important. And I think markets are shifting. I think they're getting it. I think businesses, not just entrepreneurs and solopreneurs, I think companies are getting it, that things are different now. We can leverage different aspects of how we market through these funny little coaches that seem to be making a living online. Like, I don't know, man. It just blows me away. Like, I never thought that this would ever even be possible. My first job at high school was in radio, believe it or not. I was all about them. I loved it. I loved the concept of it, but I was like, I was way too young to be in radio. That was a stressful job. And I worked for an oldies radio station too, Southern California. I don't want to get into that, but I was like, nope. But I did love that aspect of it. So, I mean, the possibilities are so endless. So I really want to hear how you work that through with them. Because I know there's people out there right now that don't understand, or they're stuck in this aspect. They think that it's about making money. It is, but it isn't. Help explain that in better words so that they can get it.
Well, we're thinking in terms of money. Money is capital, right? What about relationship capital? That's what I like to think about is the relationships. I wouldn't be here talking to you guys today if it wasn't for my relationship with Lorianne. And that came through a conversation that I had on my podcast. And so I think that you have to zoom out and look at the bigger picture of how you get paid, because I'm like you. I have run hundreds of thousands of dollars in ads and they never get me an ROI. I'm sure I'm doing something wrong. I'm sure of it. I can't crack that nut, but I can get into a mastermind and I can go meet some people that I like, and I can create some friendships that become business opportunities. And that's a whole lot easier for my little pea brain to understand. Friends do business together. Very simple, right? So that's where I put all my time, and that's what I look at. And by the way, if you call me a podcaster again, we're going to have a problem. Okay. I'm a businessman.
That just goes to show, like, I don't know the words.
It's one thing that he does. Because remember, he diversifies. He's into diversifying.
I'm a business person that uses a podcast, and that's what I teach everybody I work with.
Yes. This is a perfect example of what I was just talking about. Because you're absolutely right. It's not. I'm still using an old terminology that doesn't apply to what it is we do today. So if you think about this, like, what we do is, it's been really hard to try to figure out. And I was like, oh, okay. It took a while because, like, people are like, what do you do? I'm like, they're like, oh, so you work in computers? No. Well, yes, because everybody has to work on a computer, right? I think. Like, I didn't think that was a comment, but okay, I guess it is. It's marketing, sort of. It's like, we help leverage costs and training on creative. And people are like, well, what's creative? And I'm like, okay, it's not the normal, ads. It's this, it's that. And that's the thing where I've realized for years trying to explain that, it's become a lot easier now, right? Because other people who are doing it really well are explaining it. I'm like, that's perfect. Like, there it is. I want to grab that. That's exactly what I've been trying to figure out. But I love this path we're on. And we're business people. We're businessmen. We're businesswomen. We're helping other businesses get to that place. They're like, oh, so you're like Tony Robbins. I'm like, no, I'm nothing like Tony. I'm not kidding you. These are real conversations. I'm like, no, I'm nothing like Tony Robbins. First off, he's like a gazillionaire. Number two, I'm about like half his height. Number three, I'm like, no, but what he's doing, yes, it's that same aspect. Tony Robbins has taken his message and he's built it and he's turned his brand into something that has trust and value. And when you hear the name, you feel comfortable about the product. Like, do you really think when you buy or get into a program, you're going to get Tony Robbins? Like, probably Probably not. I don't know. Maybe, but it's probably not going to be Tony Robbins. But it's going to be, it's right. Go ahead, Lorianne.
But do you realize, his personal brand and how Tony Robbins built his business was through speaking.
Public speaking, yes.
To attract people to him.
Yes.
This show is all about speaking to attract the right people. Jonathan, that's exactly, that's what we, all three of us
this is what we're doing right here. This is public speaking.
Solve problems.
Right.
And we attract the right people because we're building that know, like, and trust.
The difference is you have no idea what I'm wearing underneath. I'm just like, it doesn't match the top. I can tell you that right now.
Thank goodness.
Hey, this is my home studio. I can wear what I want here. It's none of your business.
All right, back on track now.
Yeah. So Jonathan, public speaking, getting the message across. We're businessmen. We're businesswomen. We're helping other
solving problems.
Right? Yeah, solving problems. How do they get across that threshold? Like they're there. They're trying to understand. They're afraid. I don't want to do this. Like, why is it important for them? Help them understand the importance of getting out there, putting out video. What other ways do you help your customers? Let's talk that through that way.
Oh man, there's so many different ways. I just got off a call with a client who signed up with us, who's written 3 or 4 books and still trying to figure out his marketing. And I'm like, damn, man, you put all that time into those books, but you're not getting the return on them. And so it's a bigger strategic picture of how to turn your ideas, how to turn your beliefs, your values into opportunities for your business. And so if you're afraid to get out there, then you're doing your market a disservice because your competitors are out there already and they're getting your clients and they're probably doing a lesser job than you would do. And so it is your responsibility, your duty to get your message, share your values, and get those right words into that person's head so that they do business with you. And I think that's Simon Sinek's saying. We do business with people. The purpose is not to do business with everybody. It's to do business with the people who believe what you believe. And if you are not out here sharing what you believe, sharing your values, sharing what's important to you, then you're not going to get those people. And that's the bridge that we build. And that's one of the lessons that I learned working with Dr. Rick Rigsby. What's this show called? How You Living? When he came to work with us, he taught me something so incredibly profound because we used to do the demographic thing. Like, what's the age? Are they married? What's their position? And when I brought this to him to map out his show, he's like, none of this works. None of these demographics work for what I'm trying to do. And he taught me about the values. And so we think about it instead of psychographics, it's value graphics. What are the values you hold dear? What matters to you? What's important? We have to get those front and center. And like you said about Gary Vee, repeat them over and over again so that people hear that message and you're like a beacon of light. You're like a lighthouse attracting the right people to you so that you can help them. And that's your duty. And if you're not doing that, then you are actually doing a disservice to the market.
I agree. I agree 100%. As you're talking, there's so many different examples that are coming up. I'm like, all right, I think I've given like 2 or 3 of like real customers and clients. I'm like, I don't think I should give any more because eventually they're going to start figuring out who I'm talking about, right? Because you get into this business and it's like, you and I are both individuals that, like I said, you called yourself unemployable. I've been saying that for years. Yes. Like words are very difficult for me. I was really afraid of that. People are like, oh yeah, you're personal. I'm like, no, you don't understand. Like, yeah, I'm outgoing because that was my defense mechanism for feeling extremely embarrassed and extremely like just feeling inadequate to go out there. I'm not a wordsmith. I say things wrong all the time. Like I have numerous, memories of being made fun of younger because I got something wrong, or I remember the first time that I got the number of states wrong of the country. And I just and so, by the way, I got really good at boxing in my life, because I'm just saying I had to have an outlet, right? And so it was like, okay, how's that? Can you remember that? You want me to give you 50? And that was just the thing, because I didn't understand how do I get this, my ideas and thoughts, and how do I share things? But I'm afraid I don't want to say the wrong thing, and especially in LinkedIn, right? What happens? Are we going to make, a customer upset? And then I realized it was a few years back, and I think you could relate to this. I'm at a meeting. We're getting hired by a new client, and their head of business development is sitting at the other end of the table, and he made a comment in regards to Facebook or Instagram, something like that. I said, oh, hey, here, hit me up. Let's connect. They're paying us thousands of dollars for us to help them. He goes, oh, I don't connect with people I do business with in Instagram or Facebook. And I go, okay, that's odd. I go, why? Is it different? He goes, well, how I present myself here is different, yes, than, I go, wait, so you're telling me that this version of you is unauthentic. So if I look I always loved that meme, but it was humorous. I got it, but I thought we all got past that, right? Apparently not. And I said, so you're telling me that the guy I'm going to be dealing with over the contract term of this year is really not you. I was like, well, that makes me feel comfortable. That's good. And I said it right there at the table. I don't care. Right? I don't work for you.
Is just speaking volumes.
Yeah.
I just cringe hearing this story, and I've heard it before. It's just ooh.
But it clicked, and that's when I realized, wait a second. We're not looking at the world correctly and understanding that we should be authentic anywhere. We should, right? Let your yeses be yes and no's be no's, right? Be who you are everywhere. Yes, there are different advantages to different platforms. And yes, I may give a little more information on one than the other, but I'm not going to change who I am. I'm not going to not be authentic in who I am on any of these different places, because if you go look me up and any of the other platforms, you will not be shocked at what you find. It'll look just like this, but with a lot more pictures of me enjoying these things. My whiskey, my cigars, and my guns. That's who I am. But I don't impose things like that on anybody that doesn't feel comfortable about it. But it's who I am, and I don't pretend not to be. And I realized that the fear of doing this had to be done. You had to go through it, right? You had to go through this muscle memory. The first time I did a live, I sat on for 2.5 hours in my back patio. I was so nervous. I was just smoking a cigar, talking to myself for 2 hours because I was so nervous. So nervous. And then I convinced my son, Donnie, to come out the second time. You need to sit with me. This is for my business. Come support me, because I was so embarrassed. And then we had people jump on. That one went 4 hours. And I was like, okay, we got to figure this out.
I think this is so funny because, Jonathan, you've probably heard this, people who are afraid to get out there and get in front of people, they're usually on for a half a minute. He spends hours.
Well, I was smoking a cigar. So, right. I mean, the cigar is at least an hour and a half. It was a long cigar.
I don't know anything about that.
Yeah. The second time, a couple buddies came on. We started talking, and a couple bottles of wine got open. 4 hours later, I forgot that it was just having a giant FaceTime call. And I realized, wow, this is really neat. We started getting all kinds of feedback. And people were like, oh, that was so much fun. And man, I laughed. And, and we started realizing that the people in our community, because, in Facebook, you have a lot closer connections, right? They're more typically friends, family, stuff like that you grew up with or people you're closer to. But what I realized was, wait a second, I'm the same guy in business as I am here. I'm authentic in who I am. If I enjoy conversations with business owners, if I enjoy these types of things, because normally something like this, I do this all the time at work. I put on YouTube. I put on one of the okay, I don't want to say the word. What do we call ourselves then, Jonathan? Not a podcaster, right? So what are we?
Business people.
That doesn't sound as cool.
Problem solvers.
Yeah.
That one I like. But what about the us behind the mic? What do we call influencers? I don't know. What do we call ourselves?
I'm just.
Does it matter?
No, well, I just wanted to sound cool if I'm going to talk and give a story. Come on, Lorianne. Right?
But a lot of times.
Mike Masters. Donnie said Mike Masters.
Mike Masters.
I like
Great.
that.
But in regards to, I'm going to take us a little off track here. In regards to providing solutions and, Jonathan, you and I were talking about this before we started airing the show. I think a lot of what solutions we end up providing and who we are, like our personal brand, also has a lot to do with who we're surrounding ourselves with. Who are our cheerleaders? Who is, supporting us? I mean, Jonathan, that story about the guy saying you're an idiot not to use this in your real estate business, as harsh as that might have been, it was just it was a light bulb moment. I mean, so you were surrounding yourself with some of the right people who literally put you a step closer onto your path, your purpose.
I actually was wondering, was he really trying to help you, or was he really calling you an idiot? Was he a naysayer that helped get you across, or was he a buddy saying, why are you not implementing this in your business?
No, he was a buddy. And the thing is, this is a tip for anyone listening. I think that all of us sitting here have the ability to be coached, take feedback, and use it. And it's something that I look for. I look for somebody to call me an idiot if I'm being an idiot, and then I'm going to see. And it's going to work out one of two ways. It's always going to work out to my advantage, but it's going to be either, yeah, I am being an idiot, and let me fix this, or I'll show you who's being an idiot. So it doesn't matter. Either way it comes, as long as you take that and you use it to get better. And I think that's what we're all striving for. I don't think that you can live a life without constant improvement. And if you're thinking today what you were thinking a year ago or 3 years ago, then you're not growing and you're dying. And so I think that being around the right people helps elevate you, the people that will tell you when you're being an idiot, or tell you when you're missing out on brilliance over here that maybe you took for granted. I think being around the right people, and this is one of the reasons why I love this medium, this is like talk radio or having your best friend in your ear, is that we can surround ourselves with better people, even if they aren't in our immediate environment. Because that guy that helped me, I had never met him. I worked with him for 5 years online. We built a couple products together and a business together before we ever met. And that's what's so awesome about the world today, is that we can do things like that. And so when we think in terms of being around the right people, the people you went to school with, your family, your clergy, they all mean well, I'm sure, most of them, but they're not always going to help elevate you or call you an idiot. They're going to try to protect your feelings and keep you from failing. So getting around better people who not only lift you up, but challenge you is key. And that's why having a show like this in your earbuds, listening to us talk, is a way to get around better people, listening to other podcasts, reading books, watching documentaries. The people and the ideas we surround ourselves with is who we become.
I couldn't agree more. Which, I mean, because we really do have to be careful about whose advice we're taking, who we surround ourselves with. And, some of the people that you're surrounding yourself with, let's just take family. You might not be able to do anything about your family, but you have to internally know, I can't take advice from this person. So even if they're giving you advice, just okay, fantastic. Because you know that you have your entrepreneurial people who think differently. And those are the people that you want to be tapping into and getting their feedback. I've always said that you have to be very careful about whose feedback you're really listening to. So I'm so glad that you shared that with us, Jonathan.
I'm thinking my father-in-law, right? mean, I've been married to this woman for 16 years, together 18 years. Guy doesn't even know what I do. He doesn't know what I do. Fine. I don't know what I do either. I'm changing all the time. So it's cool. But the same guy that's telling me to pick a profession for my son so that he can go to school and get a degree and do a job is the same guy that will call my wife in the middle of the day and say, hey, our printer's not working. Can you come over here and help us? Hey, can you grab something? Well, how the hell do you think that she's here to be able to do that? We don't have a job. We built this life. Your advice is helpful and thank you for it, but maybe it's irrelevant. And so that's why you have to be looking at the people, not just the people who are in your immediate circle, but look for the people who are doing what you want to be doing. Look for the people who are doing amazing things and try to emulate them.
There it is. You nailed it right there. By the way, you can tell your father-in-law, Rigo Murillo said, we are not to take your career advice. You are too old. You are not in the threshold. Us Gen Xers, we're barely made it. And I don't even think we're there, right? I'm just fortunate enough to have young people around me to help keep me focused on where it needs to be. But you nailed it right there, asking. Like, that was it. Another conversation I just had with another young business owner, and he was talking about he needs to find another mentor. And I said, I said, you want to know where you can find as many as you want? He goes, what? I go, bookstore, online, Audible. Let me explain something. The biggest and greatest mentors in my life have no clue how they helped focus my business and put me forward. And then when you really want to take your business to another level, when you really want to see just what you're capable of, go hire and pay for one that has zero relationship or need to be sensitive about your feelings, and will give you the truth and will give you direction and will help you go through stuff. And if you're not going to be a part of putting in self-investment in your own self, like they're going to give you a program, they're going to give you a path, and you got to go do the work. They're not going to do it for you. And if you're not willing to do it for you, guess what they're probably not going to do? They're not going to sit there and beg you to do the work on something you already paid for.
Yeah.
I had a really great consultant years ago tell me, Lorianne, she was brilliant. And she was watching me, like I was banging my head against the wall with this client. It was years ago. And I'm like, oh my God, like, listen, like it's crazy when you give somebody a plan and it's super simple and they want to complicate it. I'm like, just do just do it. You paid me for this. Just go do it and then see if it doesn't work. If it doesn't work, I'll give you your damn money back. If that's what you want. It works. Great. All right. We need to just change it up. No. It ain't broke, dude. Just keep doing it. It's too simple. Who cares? It's working. They wanted to change it up. She comes up to me and goes, Rigo, let me tell you something. You tell them once, you tell them twice, and you shut the hell up. They keep paying the check. It's on them now. And I was like, that's funny. I was like, all right, I like that. That was good then. But at the same time, I want to help people grow, right? And I think this is where we find people that want to connect with us, right? Because our stories connect. We're just not a consultant. They're not just hiring us. They're connecting with us, right? We're building trust through this right here. That's the public speaking. We're building trust. Yeah. You agree?
100%. No question about it. I mean, that's back to value graphics. Does this person believe what I believe? Does this person come from where I come from? Does this person understand me? And the only way to do it is to put yourself out there. Otherwise, they will never know who you are or what you can do or what you believe. So I'm with you. I mean, I've been doing it for years, so I'm with you, brother.
So when you're putting something out right now to some business owners that are watching this, and they need to hear something. They need to be inspired. What do we tell them? Like, how can they understand the importance of why building that personal brand matters? And how can they find you and see how you can, maybe you're the right choice, maybe you're not, but how can they find you and help them get across that threshold? Like, why is this so important? Why is what we do like this so important for business today when trying to get their message to the market?
I think it's more important to the people that they serve. Are they serving a market who they care about? This has nothing to do with me at all. This has to do with the work that you do and whether or not the work you do matters. If it matters, then you need to get the message out there to people. Because like we said earlier, your competitors are going to do a crappy job and get these clients, or you can do a bang up job and get the word out there. So it's a matter of, do you believe in yourself? Do you believe in the work that you do? Do you believe that you can make a change in someone's life for the better? If you believe these things, then you need to be talking about it, because otherwise nobody is ever going to know what you can do, who you are, what's important to you, or how you can help them. And so whether I can get you over the line or not, I don't know. But what matters is, do you care enough about your work and the people that you serve to get out of your comfort zone and do something about it? So that's kind of, I'll get off the soapbox there, but it's really more about you and the people you serve and whether or not you care about them.
I totally agree with that. And I have to say that, you know, as a painfully shy girl who became a professional speaker, and I've had this conversation with different podcasts that I've been on, I just never thought about what the afterwards. I was just like, well, I'm just here to serve, and this is how I'm going to serve. I said yes to this, that I was going to speak at this event, share my knowledge. I just never thought about down the road. And what I mean by down the road was, I just never thought about like, well, what if people don't like this? What if people laugh at me? What if people think that what I'm doing is stupid? So I never got into that. I was just always like fully present in this moment right here, and how I was going to serve people. And I kind of think of that as like, I guess ignorance was bliss, and it certainly served me, but thank goodness. But I know that there's a lot of people that fear, Jonathan, holds them back from sharing their story, from getting out there, sharing their craft with the world.
It comes back to purpose. Like the thing is, like, one of the greatest dying regrets, you guys can Google this, and it's not living up to your potential. And I am more scared of not living up to my potential and my purpose than I am of anything else. And that being a husband, being a father, being a business owner, being a man of God, like if I don't do what I was put on this earth to do, then I don't deserve to go up to heaven. Like, this is how weird I think. And look, I got a stack of books over here. I read the Bible. I do the rosary. I know what God's plan is for me. And that's how I've crystallized it, is the right words from the right person at the right time can change a life. And if I'm not going out there every day, picking the people that I can help get that message to other people who they can help. And this is what drives me, is that I know that by helping this host or that host or that host, we're helping all of these people who are listening live better lives. If I'm not doing that every day, if I'm not delivering on that, because that's what I was put here for, that's my ministry, that's my gift, then I'm not living up to my potential, and I'm not living a fulfilled life. And so this goes back, and this is, I would recommend you go back and listen to the interview that I did with Lori Ann, where we talked about living a life with purpose, is starting that introspection of what you were put on this earth for, and not letting anything get in the way of doing that every single day to the best of your ability, leaving it all on the field so there's nothing left. And that's how I live. That's why I'm here with you guys. That's why I do the work that I do at the Podcast Factory. And I think that's why you guys are all doing the same thing. We're servant leaders trying to make this world a better place.
Yeah. Yeah.
How many times do you see, you see clients get stuck in trying to perfect their purpose, perfect their path, right? Like, how many times do you see, because I know that's something that we've seen, and I'm curious, as you work with your clients, how many times do you see them stuck on trying to perfect it versus just executing, right? Because you talk about living up to your potential. We had a guest, You have to go back and check it out. His name is Coach Kevin, and he talked a lot about the potential and how potential is just a wasted word. I mean, it's not real. Potential is potential. It's not real, right? You have to act it out for it to actually be energy. If you're looking at potential energy, a dam and there's water, and unless you let the water through to create the energy, it doesn't matter. It's just water. There's potential, but if you don't do anything with it, right? So how many times do you see clients try to perfect versus just acting it out? And like, how do they get past that? Like, these are the things that I try to help others understand is, hey, just do it, man. Who cares?
It's hard. Yeah, I think that you got to replace the idea of potential with purpose. And purpose is an action, right? You're actually doing something with that potential so that you're releasing it out into the world and creating that energy. And I would say that those are the people who fail. Those are the people who get stuck in their head, don't go through the exercises. Look, we've done this, I think, 119 times, help people get their message out there through podcasting. And the people that don't make it, the failure stories are the people who sit there and think about it and worry and question themselves. The people that have success, my biggest success stories are the ones who trust me. I've been here and I've had the nerves. Look, at this point right now, as we're speaking, I'm not going to put a date on this, but I can tell you that I've done over 1,500 shows, whether it's interviews, whether it's co-hosting, whether it's my own show. And even sometimes when I light up a mic, like I lit up a mic today, I still get the nerves. I still wonder, am I going to deliver? But what am I going to do? Think about my potential? No, I'm going to get on here. I'm going to do what I do. And then I can go back later on and say, man, you sucked, man. You were good here, man. This is what you could do better. And so I would say that getting in the reps, putting in the actions gives you the feedback so that you can improve. But unless you're putting in reps, there's no chance to improve because there's nothing there. Like you said, it's potential. So there's nothing there. So I would say, do the work, make mistakes, and learn.
And get the data. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. You gotta get the data. No, 100%. 100%.
I'm glad that we're talking about this purpose stuff because, Jonathan, I think, just because I've had you on my podcast where we talked about your purpose and understanding and uncovering your why, that a lot of people think that their purpose and why has to be some huge thing. Will you just share your very simple exercise to uncovering your why and your purpose? I think that would hugely benefit some people who are doubting theirs.
So here's what's fun about this, because I was thinking as I was preparing for the interview today, I listened back to our interview, which was only a few months ago. Mm-hmm. And I thought, man, I could have said that so much better. But had I not said it to you, then the next time I was interviewed, I would not have had a better way of saying it. And so this is a perfect example of putting in the reps. Hey, that wasn't exactly great, but what could you do better? That's what it's about. And to speak to the point of knowing your purpose, it's going to change. It's going to adapt. What it is today might not be what it is next year or 3 years from now. But you got to stay on. No,
right, Jonathan? And it shouldn't be. I think that's the biggest thing is it shouldn't be. We're solving problems. You're helping your clients. You have to evolve with them. You know, in 2 or 3 years, we're all going to be working for President AI. Right? Who knows? I don't know. Now, listen, here's the deal. We are seeing changes in our world and our economy. We'll have to shift with it. It will continue to do this. It always has, right? Yes. From a stick to a spear to a bow and arrow to a rifle, you know, from a horse to a tractor to a combine that runs on satellites. We change. It's not just technology. Technology is just the representation of that change. There's other change as well that has gone the other way. More people. Look at this. We went from very corporate, spending thousands of dollars and putting people all over the place in shows. And don't get me wrong, I love these types of events, but now I can build relationships with people on the other side of the country and the other side of the world And this was not a feasible strategy 10 years ago. I mean, it existed, but it didn't have the same effect that it has today. So things change. We should change. We should constantly change. And I think that's why something like the Podcast Factory and other aspects, right? You said what doesn't change is problem solving. What doesn't change is learning how to speak in any sort of, whether publicly or privately within an organization, learning how to use your words, right? That's important, right? Learning how to solve problems, important. These are things that don't go away. They may get replaced with AI, whether you like it or not, Lori.
Stop.
Yeah.
All right,
Listen,
Jonathan,
I love it.
share
I love it.
I got you. I got you, Lorianne.
So let's hit us up because we got a few more minutes and we're gonna go ahead and close up. So go ahead, Jonathan, bring it out.
The framework that I look at now is 3 simple steps. Number 1 is gratitude daily. And this is as simply as taking a note card and writing 3 things that you're grateful for in the morning and in the afternoon. You do this every day. The lizard brain in you is going to say, I've run out of things after day 2. That's actually a benefit. Is when you start doing gratitude daily, you start realizing what's important to you. So gratitude daily, do it for the next 30 days, and you'll start seeing trends in what's important to you. Then after a month of that, or actually after a week of that, I'm going to take it down to a week. So you do gratitude daily, then every week you do what I call a course corrector. And a course corrector is a very simple exercise that turns failures into fuel for your next success. And it goes like this. You ready? Pen and paper, write this down. What worked? What didn't work? What could I do differently? And this is how you turn all your mistakes into valuable feedback. I like to say, actually, I learned this from a friend of mine, data, not drama. You get data on what's working, what's not, and what you could do differently. So gratitude daily, course corrector weekly, then monthly, you do what I call delegate and delete. Now you know what drives you. Now you know what's working, what's not, what you can do differently. Now you start saying, I want more of this, less of that. And if there's stuff that you need to get off of your plate, you either delegate it to someone else on your team or hire someone, or you delete it because it's not necessary. And these 3 pieces fit together to help you not only uncover your purpose, improve yourself, but live more in your purpose. Because as you delegate and delete, then you're starting to only work in the things that matter most, things that light you up, the things that make the greatest impact in your business.
All right, listen, right there. If there's nothing else you got out of today's show, other than 3 like really good looking people just sitting here chatting about purpose and things, if there's nothing else you got right there, if you are building a business, if you are trying to build yourself and who you are, if you are like at any level in your life, I promise you this because I can tell you that it has taken me years to understand most of those steps that you just mentioned. And it's still taking me some time to realize that I could actually put all those steps together to really be impactful. That is probably some of the best advice I've ever heard that would give people so much success. So I love it. Jonathan, listen, first off, I want to thank you so much for being here. Donnie, why don't we give Jonathan another round of applause from our great, crazy audience. Just so pumped that you're here. Listen, Jonathan, don't take off. I want to give you an opportunity to connect and let people connect with you. But Lorianne, why don't we, a little final thought from you before we move on with our day.
Gosh, we've talked about so much today. This was a great show, but really it comes down to let's communicate with confidence. Let's get out there and share our message, whatever medium that is. I mean, I talk about stages and virtual speaking, but this is a mini stage, this live show. Podcasting is a mini stage. Find your mini stage and start speaking your message. That would be my final thoughts today. Rigo?
Yeah, absolutely. Same. Listen, I love that. It is about problem solving. It is about getting your message out there. And regardless of what methods you use, I'm 100% aligned with you on this. We are in a time and an era where this is the fastest way for you to build that entry level relationship. And Donnie, bring Jonathan back in here real quick again. Jonathan, please share with us the Podcast Factory. How did they get a hold of you?
So I put the name up here on all socials at Rivera, then IG, LinkedIn, Facebook. That's where you get me. The podcastfactory.com is my company. And if you need inspiration, there are so many shows showcased there with people who are bringing the light every single day. Check that out. Or you can check my show out, resultsleader.fm. That's where Lorianne and I met, and that's how we ended up here.
Awesome. I love it. I was about to say, if somebody needs inspiration, go find Tony Robbins. No, I'm joking. You had to be part of the conversation earlier. Absolutely. Listen, I hope that this information really does and did something for you today. As we get ready to close this up and move on into the rest of the year here, you guys, and going into how we can help support you as an organization, as an individual, as a solopreneur, entrepreneur, it doesn't matter. Let us know if it matters, if this information did something, if you liked it, if it did nothing, but it kept you entertained for an hour, let us know. We really, really want to hear from you. It helps. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Let us know what you think. And by all means, follow our guests, follow their social profiles, and do the same with us. We just want to hear from you. We want to know that this information matters. We're going to continue to drive focus on how we can help you reach that next level. I love that, the right thing at the right time, the right place, and the right couple other things, but I get it. I love how he said that, and those are the things that really impact and change lives. So anyways, you guys, listen, I'm glad you were here. Join us next week, same time, Thursday, 1 p.m. for another episode of Contagious Leadership. God bless. You guys take care, and we will see you next week with another great guest and our amazing host, Lorianne. Talk to you later.